Hello, my name is Danny with Reveal Video, and welcome to this first podcast episode. Now listen, this is something completely new that I'm trying out, and I figured, hey, I know some friends and colleagues with some epic stories. Why don't we share their experiences and wisdom that they have gathered throughout the years? On this first episode, I talked with my good friend Sam Perez. Sam has been a longtime friend of mine, and his story is incredible. He is what I call a resilient entrepreneur. And before we get started, apologies for ones watching this as a video podcast. I completely blew it, and my camera and shot everything out of focus. Yes, everything's out of focus on my end, but on his end, he's crystal clear, so you don't have to worry about that. And yes, I still do make mistakes. And hey, also, I hope you enjoy my post-Movember stash as well too. Anyways, enough with the chit chat. Here we go. This is Sam's story.
So it was April of 2008. So I was already back living in San Diego after doing school and ministry in Vegas. And we switched back to the routine. Started going to community college. Really didn't know what direction I was going. I was working part-time with my dad. At that moment, it was just him, just like a mom and pop kind of business. It's called J and S. So J is my dad's name. He always wanted to call this company that, and S is Sam. Pretty self-explanatory, and Landscape Solutions. And he had been begging me for a while, like, let's grow this business. Like, that where we lived in the area of San Diego where we lived, there's the community college there is really well known for their horticulture program. So my dad's like, take some courses, I'll pay for them. And I'm like, Dad, I'm never gonna do landscaping. And my dad had a way. He was a sweet guy. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a semester. And so I jumped in, and I was actually in the middle of it was in the middle of a project. It was a weekend. It was a Saturday, April 12th. And my dad, the day before, had gone to a men's retreat. Everything was like normal. He had left. I dropped him off at the church. He went on this men's retreat. And Saturday morning, I had a group project to do here in San Diego at Balboa Park, which is a beautiful park with museums and all that. So I had a project where we had to it was like an art exhibit for my landscape architecture class. So I was there with friends, and my sister calls me, and I'm like inside the museum, so I hang up. Calls me again, I hang up. So my phone's ringing again, so I'm like, okay, something's up. Better go outside and take this call. And my sister at the time she's 14. So I'm like, oh, maybe something's going on. I got worried. And I went outside and I answered the call, and all I could hear is just this crazy distress. Just when you don't, there was no words being made out. But you could tell right away, you could feel it. You could sense the heaviness. And she finally mustered up the words, Dad's dead, which is it's surreal. It's insane. What are you talking about? I was 21. My parents had me when they were really young. So they were teenagers. So my dad was 39. I'm like, that's insane. Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Dad was healthy, still dunking on me. He was an athlete. So I'm dumbfounded. And then I could hear my brother in the background crying. David, he was at the time 12, and so I just kind of jumped into. I didn't know what to do, bro. It was just I blacked out. I just got. I don't know how I got in the car, and on the drive home, I'm just calling, just my leaders at church, and it's one of those times where nobody's answering. It's I just remember just hanging up and just crying out to God, and it's just one of those angry moments. But I didn't know, it didn't settle in. Nothing made sense. What do you pray? What do you say? Do we just call God out? Is this even true? I have a powerful God. He's gonna bring him back to life. And it's all these crazy emotions going on. So I just, I get home and My siblings are in the living room, just like splayed out. It's just a mess. And at this time, like I couldn't even cry. Like I couldn't. Like my emotions were so just like tightened up. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, where's mom? Where's mom? So I run upstairs and I have a 1 year. At the time, my brother was one and a half, the youngest, and he was like in this crib, like what's going on? You know, crying too, looking for my mom, and I find her in the closet, just a mess. You know, my parents had known each other since childhood. To hear that your husband is dead, you know, it's like, what the heck? And I just from that moment just jumped in, called family. Our church was amazing, that we were in at the time. They just supported us, sent people to just comfort us, and brought out food. They were there with us for days. And I just remember from that moment on, I just not even thinking twice about what my decisions were going to be. The days coming, the weeks, the months, the years, I was committed to the family. I put all of my stuff aside, and I don't say this to make myself seem great or grand. It's just for me, like, there was no other option. You know, years now later, I'm like, nobody could have said anything wrong about me if I would have decided to pack up my bags and left and figure out my own life. You know, my dad just died. I'm trying to figure my stuff out, you know. But I just felt like there was no other option than to stay. You know, my mom, being an immigrant, she didn't have her driver's license. She didn't speak the language. You know, the next person to me is my sister, who was 14, my brother, who was 12, and my baby brother, who was a year and a half. So, you know, I wasn't gonna leave. So I just jumped in, and so it was a mess, man. So my dad died of a heart attack. He died of just a massive heart attack. We didn't know. He had the coroner did the study. He had an enlarged heart that had developed over the years, and things, you know, start to click. Like, oh, that makes sense. You know, he would wake up in cold sweats. He would complain about feeling a little like numb or pain, but he never went to the doctor. It's like, so yeah, man. So that was 2008. You know, we're talking about like 16 years ago. So since then, I just jumped in, not knowing, you know, what was next, but just being obedient to what I felt was right.
And that's something too, man, that I feel like it still gives me goosebumps today, and I can't help but not get emotional about it, just because, dude, if I were in your situation, dude, that would completely tear me up. What were like some of the certain pressures that you felt, and the anxieties that surrounded with the obligation of like, oh man, like I have to be the leader of the home now, but then now it's like, man, forget what I want to do for my career. I have to lead my dad's business now, you know, because this is the way that I'm gonna provide for the family.
Well, the biggest anxiety that I had was I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't know what I was doing in business, because it wasn't taught, you know, coming from a migrant family. It was really, you know, first generation Mexican in the States is like, we're not talking about our portfolios and our stocks, you know, and our investments. We're not talking about like our quarter and our monthlies and figuring that out. I didn't see that. You know, my dad was like a day-to-day guy. If we had enough to eat and had enough savings under the mattress, we're good. So it was that, and it was also the trade. The knowledge of the trade, because I didn't know anything, dude. I genuinely feel like his client list of people that I would mow lawns for kept me on because it felt bad for me, and they had such a good relationship with my dad. My dad was like an amazing, like, gregarious guy. He was just, everybody loved my dad. So I think they did it as a favor, you know, to him, because I sucked. It's so bad. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, man. I mean, I would go to work with my dad, but he would have me just mow I mean, you could train a monkey to mow, it's just like,
Yeah.
but when it came down to like, hey, what's this plant? Why does it look like that? I was like, I don't know.
Wow.
And I would install like sprinkler systems backwards. So they would just literally like in the middle of the night just blow up. Then they would call me like, don't you ever come back to my house again. Um, so it was that anxiety, just losing money every month. Like I was blowing through my dad's, savings. He wasn't a spender. So we had a little bit of savings, but I was blowing through that, like, because I was losing money every month.
Yeah.
So my anxiety is the pressure is like, dude, I would work my butt off and come home and just see my family like still in this turmoil, this emotional turmoil. Like we just lost our father. My mom lost her best friend. I did too, but I also had the added pressure of like, I got to feed these people. I got to pay the bills, so it was a lot for a 21-year-old. A 21-year-old is supposed to be making mistakes. It's supposed to be like having fun with friends and figuring it out. But I felt like I didn't have the luxury to do that. I needed to just really focus and figure it out and get to work. That was my pressure. My anxiety is just providing and living. YouTube was getting like starting to gain traction. So I would look up things on YouTube like how to install a sprinkler. Like, and I always took it upon myself to challenge myself to get to a point where I would need help. So if a client would be like, hey, do you know how to do this? I'll be like, yeah, definitely. I had no idea. Like, so I would always position myself. I would put myself in a position where I would need to reach out, and that really stretched that part of me where it's like, I kind of grew my circle, and I would reach out and look and seek for people that either had experience in it, or if it came to the craft, like literally you could find it anywhere. I think the craft and the trade, you can figure it out. I would sometimes, like, if I would get stuck on a job, like installing like a irrigation system or programming a timer, or if I had a question about a plant or something, I would literally like stand at the front of the property and just like wait, 10, 15 minutes. And if I saw a landscaper drive by, I would like, hey, let me go. And I would flag them down, and I would literally ask, hey, like, I need help. Like, I'm new at this. Kind of explain not play the sob story, but like, hey, like, I'm new at this. I'm trying to figure it out, trying to provide for my family. I'm not trying to like take your jobs or anything. Like, honestly, like, so I would just like really be like honest. And most times, like, people like would definitely like take the time to help. So I do it through that. But like when it came to like questions about the business or some sort of like integrity thing with the business, I would reach out to people like in a church community. I had an uncle who also had a landscaping business who I would bring on property walks, and I would kind of pick his brain really a bit. Hey, like, can you help me? Like, how do I price this property? This is way huge. I've never done this before.
So that's like a really humbling approach there, and that can be very uncomfortable too. I can't imagine.
There's a saying, like, if you're not growing, you're not gonna reach the goals you want to reach. There's what is it? This like learners are earners. If you're not asking the questions, you're never gonna know. It's just something that I think I've gotten good at. Like I ask a lot of questions. I want to figure it out. Good. It's fun. What I've learned over time through failure is like it's either one of two things. You either one have to adapt, meaning you have to learn, and I love failure because it really shows you what you don't know yet, or what you haven't accomplished yet, or what you haven't reached yet. So there's that possibility. But over the years, I've realized too that sometimes failures deter us from where we're not supposed to be heading towards, and that's okay. There's been a few times where we've had to pivot. It'd be dope to, be known as the landscaping company that's servicing these multi-million-dollar homes and all that. I'd be dope, but like I pivoted sometimes. I've had gone I tried to go that route, and I've had failures. And then one reason or another, it would pivot, and I would go for more of like a commercial, like buildings, apartment complexes, which isn't as like, it doesn't sound as sexy, but it's blessed me so much. Like a quick example, like when do you remember something called COVID? You remember that?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So 2020 hits, right? And I was bummed out because I was really trying to like blow up. I was watching, these Facebook groups and these gurus, try to show you how to make millions, with landscaping. And I wasn't having all the success. I wasn't failing, but I really, like, for one reason or another, things weren't landing. But I was gaining traction with like commercial, like government, like Section 8. I don't know if you're familiar with that, like Section 8 housing. And so I was gaining traction with that. And then when 2020 hit, a lot of people weren't spending money anymore. They were scared. But what never stopped for us was servicing these commercial properties, because we were considered as essential workers, which was a huge blessing. So when, unfortunately, in 2020, when a lot of people were losing jobs or not making it, like, we were thriving, and that all came from a pivot, and learning to know, like, the failures will either determine, hey, you got to pick up the pace, pick up the quality, learn it, or maybe it's time to pivot. And it's kind of hard to know exactly, and you learn. I think I've learned with time, like, what the difference is and when to do which of those two. So yeah, failure will either like encourage you to get better at your craft and overcome, or it's a sign for you to pivot and go a different direction, and it doesn't, it's not the end. Failure isn't necessarily like the end to your story. It's sometimes where the plot thickens or things get better. The key for me has been delegation. It's if you don't delegate things in business, like if you there's this book called 10X, and you just kind of start to unload things that are taking up a lot of your time that anybody else could do, so that your time is better served elsewhere, and that way you just increment your efficiency. So that's helped me a lot, and it's also been hard because it's my business, and nobody's going to run your business the same way that you run it, because they don't have the same amount put in it, the emotions, the financial stuff. It's not, that's not the same priority. But you have to learn to let go of a lot of things. I've had to learn to delegate things, find the key people, and if sometimes it doesn't work, but when I found a couple of good people where I can kind of trust and lean on, so that I can unload some of the things that I don't really need to do, and that frees up some of my time, so that I can make like my kids like recitals, or my kids events. Like this Thursday, my son Jesse's getting an award at 8:30 a.m. on a Thursday. A lot of people can't make it to those things because they work 9 to 5s, and it's understandable. A lot of business owners are just like all in their business, and they like 8:30, like, I'm sorry, son, it's like, you're in second grade, it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. It's family. Like, my son's going to remember that. My son's going to remember, like, looking up at the stands and seeing my wife and I both there. So that's important to me. So if it's important to me, like, it has to be a priority.
Man, tell us what's next for you in your venture now with you and your wife. You were sharing with me that in January you guys are going to be stepping into a new role.
Yeah. So I always knew growing up that I was called to ministry. I mean, that's why I moved to Vegas, school of ministry. But when my dad died, I put everything on hold, and I prolonged it, I feel, long enough. I've tried to like exit out of it countless times. But for one reason or another, I haven't. At first it was my family, providing for my family, and then it was me getting married and needing a way to sustain my wife. And it's always something, kids came along, and I got to keep working, and business grows, people are depending on the business, and we're serving at a church right now where we joined this church last September of 2023, and we eased into it, because my wife and I have done ministry forever. You know, she's like third generation, I'm fourth generation. So we know what church life is like, and we could have been easily burnt out, which we almost were. But joining this church, it's like okay, like my wife's name's Natalie. I'm like Natalie, like we've done ministry before we even met. We both did ministry. We met doing ministry, and we've kind of taken a pause to do life and raise kids and you know, live a life where we serve. But we feel really, really called. We feel like this yearning, this pull to really to lean in and trust God. And it's so funny because when I start to make that decision, because it's not the first time. Like it seems like every time I make that choice, well, I'm like, I got to lean in. Like I know I'm called to ministry. I just got to have that, you know, faith. All of a sudden, like the business starts to blow up. Things start to grow. I'm like, man, you know, maybe I could hold off another year and just like lean into the business and grow it more. But this time around, it's a little different. Like that's not exciting me anymore. Like the money is not exciting me, and it's not to say that I make tons of money. I mean, it's a testimony like that I was able to take, you know, when my dad left, and with, you know, with God's grace, like it's now, you know, sustaining multiple families, the people that work here at the business, and
love that.
You know, it pays the bills. It's gotten me a home, but that's not exciting me anymore. Like I'm excited for what God is doing in San Diego, what God is doing in the local community, what God is doing in our local church, what God is doing and wants to do in our family and our legacy and the people that are, you know, generations to come. So that's what's exciting me now. So my wife and I have committed to serve, and next year in January, the church where we're at right now is going to launch another campus, and my wife and I are going to take on like a director's role, kind of directing that campus, and we're excited about it because it's like it's very, very pastoral.
That's cool, man. Again, it goes back to you weren't really able to make that jump unless you set up the business the way that you set it up now, where you're the owner, not just owner and operator, but owner, you know. So
yeah,
that's so cool, where now you're able to step into a new season and really commit yourself to giving back more to the community. What's the most exciting thing for you that you're looking forward to in the future with I would say maybe let's just life in general, just all aspects of life?
For me, it's I don't know if it's gonna sound cliche or not, but for me, it's like the most exciting thing, and the thing I'm looking forward to the most is how my children will speak of me when they're older. So the legacy and the example that I'm leaving for them, that's the most important thing to me. I want to be the standard of what a man should be like, what a father should be like. And that's exciting to me because it's a process. It's not like an end goal. It's a day-to-day thing. It's something that I can be better. You've heard of that saying, 1% better every day, you know? And that's real, dude. As cliche as it sounds, it's like, for me, it's like, it's a day-to-day thing. So what I'm excited about is like how I can do this every day, and, you know, 10 years from now, like kind of stand at that platform where I'm at, look back and see what I've done. And what I look forward to is getting to that point where I can pass the baton to them, you know, and they can just keep running with whatever it is God does in my life, with whatever it is He does through ministry, through the business, but they will be even better. That's what I'm excited for.
It's awesome, dude. Man, you're a good dad. I just want to tell you that. And I think even though I didn't know your dad like personally, I could tell that he was a good dad too, you know, because it's like it's something generational, and it's a beautiful thing, you know, where he left you something, and then now you're just doing it even, you know, to the next level, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful thing, dude. Just want to let you know that.
Dude,
You're a great
I
dad,
appreciate that.
and keep moving forward. Seriously.
You're gonna make me cry, dude.
It's all right, man.
No, that's not thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Man, what are if you were to talk to a young Sam, right? Who is, you know, sitting out in front of someone's driveway trying to flag down a fellow landscaper, you know.
Yeah.
What would you tell that kid? Like, if you were to give him like three to five solid tips on starting a business or running a business, or yeah, what would you tell that kid?
I would tell him to figure out your lane, meaning figure out your mission statement. You know, what do you want to be known for? What is it that you want to contribute to? What is it that you're trying to sell? What is it that you're trying to do as a business? Like, have that be super clear. Number one. Number two, I would say run at a healthy pace. I think a lot of times, you know, we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're always trying to you know, social media does something that's can either be really good or really bad. I mean, it's a free marketing thing. It's you could really be anybody you want to be in social media. But in the negative side, I think sometimes we see the best of people. We see all these like highlights of all these businesses. Like, look at where we're driving, look at what we're doing, look how much money we're making. But we never really see their struggles. We never see their sacrifices. We never even see if it's actually real. No. So I would say, you know, I would tell myself, run at a healthy pace, stay in your lane, you know, put your head down and work, figure out what you're doing. And I would also say, don't do it alone. I think that's been the hardest part for me, is doing it alone. We as humans, we're creatures of community. We crave community. We need community. There's no such thing as a lone wolf, you know. You know, if you want to get somewhere fast, run alone. If you want to get somewhere like healthy and at your best, you need to surround yourself with the right people. You need to get the right mentors. You need to get the right team. You need to, you know, really invite your spouse into what you're doing, because it's lonely, man.
Oh yeah.
Being a business owner, being an entrepreneur can get lonely. It's tough when everybody else is clocking out and partying it up or just chilling or going to sleep. Like, you're invoicing, you're following up with clients, you're solving problems, you're thinking about the next thing, you're trying to figure out payroll, you know. And if you're doing that alone, man, it's tough. So I would say those things: figure out your lane, your mission statement, you know, stay in your lane, do the work, and don't do it alone.
Well, brother, I appreciate you and taking your time with this conversation. And man, I'm really glad that you're the first guy, man.
Hey, what an honor.
First one. Appreciate you.
Cheers to you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Again, this is something that we are trying out for the first time, and I hope it brings value to you. Hey, question. Can you do me a favor? Is this something that you would like to subscribe to if we produce more episodes? Please let us know by leaving a comment here on this YouTube video, or send us an email at hello@revealvideo.vegas. Again, that is hello@revealvideo.vegas. Until next time, we will chat with you soon.